Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us on this really lovely, wintry, snowy day. My name is Jennifer Burns. I'm the head of the Business Insight Center at the Central Library. And we provide information for business plans, market research, intellectual property, all at no cost to you. I will put our contact information into the chat box. Just a reminder, please keep yourself muted. Also, if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat box. I will be monitoring that and be asking our speakers your questions throughout the presentation. So I'm going to introduce Jan Pizantian from the Small Business Development Center, and he can say a few words to you. Jan, welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Wednesday. This is a terrific series we've had with the library for quite a few years already, and we'll continue to do so. Today, we've got the expert from the SBA to tell us about the COVID-19 related money that's available to small businesses and what you need to do to qualify and the various items that exist. We're going to give you a lot of information today, and the idea here is to give you that information, give you the opportunity to ask as many questions as you like, and also to let you know that there is assistance available to guide you through this. The SBA's website is open, certainly call the SBA office, but you can also give us a call at the Small Business Development Center for help and guidance in getting through this entire process. The good news is it's a bit more refined than it was when it first began last year, and so this process has been streamlined a bit more and a lot easier to get into the various programs as you'll hear about today. Let me take a minute to tell you a little bit about the SBDC program. We are one of 23 centers in New York State. Ours is hosted by SUNY Brockport. We appreciate their sponsorship of the program. We provide one-on-one counsel, which is confidential and provided at no cost. I used to call it free, but I was reminded that free doesn't have good value connotation. So I'd now tell everybody it's a prepaid service. You pay for it with your tax dollars. So you should take advantage of it. We work with people for as long as we're all doing something constructive. And right now with accessing these various COVID related programs, we can guide you through the process of filling out the forms, help you put together financial information if you need to do that. But probably just as importantly is to make sure that you have your business plan updated and adjusted for the circumstances that we're all currently experiencing. And again, we can provide you with that insight. As I mentioned, we are providing this information and this counsel one-on-one confidentially. But also, if you're the type of person who would prefer to do some stuff online, we have a program called Contra Skills, which we can hook you into, and we provide guidance with the individual counselors you'll be assigned to work with. So 3 in the morning, instead of buying Ginzu knives, you want to work on your business plan. This is a good program to get into. So having said that, I do want to let you know that we, like most other folks at this point, are still operating from home. We're not doing face-to-face visits, but we can do Zoom sessions and obviously phone, and we've been doing Skype sessions. So one way or another, we can get in touch. If you take a look at the chat box, I put our information in, the phone number you can reach us at, and also the website that you can check out. Our website is a pretty cool website. It has all kinds of information related to COVID, and also in the upper right-hand side of the screen that you'll encounter is a box that says schedule an appointment. That will allow you to input the information. The information gets to us within an hour, and we'll be back to you the same day as far as scheduling some time to meet. So, having said that, let me introduce Virginia Smith. Virginia is the branch manager for the Small Business Administration in the Rochester area. She has a ton of information about the various programs. We'll be able to answer questions. I'll be around as well if I can add anything to the mix over here. So, having said that, Virginia, please take it over.
All right, thank you, Jan. And as always, we appreciate your partnership and the partnership with the Rochester Library. I mean, truly, you guys, every first Wednesday provides valuable information, not only for startups, but people who are already in business. So thank you for your continued help for our area businesses. So what I'm going to talk about is the Paycheck Protection Program. We have relaunched it. This does say current as of January 21st. I'm going to provide as much information as I can, but I'm going to tell you this is a pretty high level overview. So we're going to get a lot more content based on your questions. So please make sure that if you have any, let us know and we'll try to answer them appropriately. So what we're going to go through today on the Paycheck Protection Program are the key dates, the difference between a first draw and a second draw, anything involving forgiveness, and then what to do now, additional resources. So programs outside of the PPP program. So everybody's open for first and second draws. I believe, Jan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all lenders are now participating in the program. Some of our bigger lenders wanted to work on their electronic processing systems, but at this point, everyone is accepting applications going forward. If you have already applied for a PPP loan during the first round of funding, you are welcome to go to your same lender from that first loan, or if you didn't necessarily wanted to develop a new relationship, you can go to any lender you want for your second request. There is no need to stay with the same lender. If you're struggling in finding a lender who wants to work with you, we do have something called Lender Match, which is at sba.gov/lender match. And it's sort of like Expedia for small businesses. You can go in there and say, you know, I'm Virginia Smith and I own a sweet potato pie company and I'm looking for a PPP loan. And any lender who's in the county that you're in can respond to your email. So it's just a way for us to connect businesses with lenders because we cannot recommend lenders. And then obviously we're still continuing to provide information, training, assistance all over the country. And so are our SBDCs to make sure that we get your questions answered. So this is where we are. Obviously, we're in February at this point, but what I want you to pay attention to right now is that March 31st deadline. I will tell you that it is my opinion that we will have plenty of money in this program. We are really not going to be in danger of funding running out. However, March 31st is the last day that applications can be submitted to SBA. So if you are looking to participate in this program and have a loan request, make sure that you get it to your lender before the March 31st deadline, because as it stands now, that is the last day that this program will be available. All right. So what's a first draw? Yeah, go ahead.
We have a quick question.
Sure.
You may be getting to this soon, so we can table it. But the question is, businesses that started in second quarter of 2019, can they compare third quarter or fourth quarter 2019 to any quarter in 2020?
No. Okay. So you are getting ahead of me. So we're going to get to your question. Okay. I promise. That's a second draw question. So let's focus on the first draw question. And whoever asked that, I actually have stuff in writing about that. So we're good. I do need to tell you every single thing that I'm telling you, every single piece of information that Jan has, everything that the lenders have is all online. We have put every word of the rules and the regs and how to do everything on sba.gov/PPP. So in no way do you not have the information available to you. We will absolutely help you with that, but I just want you to understand that we are all operating out of the same book. Okay.
Yeah, they're just saying that the language is a little confusing. So
fair enough. I've got it. Ooh, I've got it in front of me if I can find all the paperwork, but we will get to the second draw. So let's talk about the first draw. The first draw is for businesses who have never applied before. You didn't apply in the first round and you now want to apply. The nice thing about this one is everyone who was eligible before to apply is still eligible. We did open it up to a few other types of businesses, such as 501c6s, if you happen to be that type of business. So we opened it up for that. We also allowed additional eligible expenses. So in the first round, the only way you could have been forgiven is if you spent 60% on payroll, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities. But now we've added PPP. So if you are PPE, excuse me, if you are purchasing PPE for your business to keep your employees safe, that's an eligible forgivable expense. If you had to go to the cloud, so business operating expenses to work with the pandemic so that you could work remotely, that's an eligible expense. So we've actually added eligible forgivable expenses to this round. The other nice thing is if you currently have a outstanding PPP loan and you haven't yet applied for forgiveness, you can also use these eligible expenses to apply for your forgiveness. Borrowers can now select any covered period they want. So if you're going to spend all that money in 10 weeks, you do 10 weeks. If you're going to spend it in 21, you can choose 21. So we've given you the ability to choose how long you would like your covered period for. There are very small limitations to the borrowers who may increase their original loan amount. And then again, you have to apply on or before March 31st.
Hey, Virginia, for first draw, would a new business created in third quarter 2020 be eligible to apply?
No, it's February 2020. So you had to be in business February 2020. And what do I mean by in business? DBA, like you started your business, you know, because there are some places where maybe you started in February 2020, but you didn't start earning revenue until later. Right? So it has to be February 2020. I think that answers the question. Okay. All right. So now eligible housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations. Again, if you're a 501c6 or some eligible news organizations, everybody's still eligible, whether you're a partnership, a corporation, a sole proprietor, 501c3s, et cetera. So we didn't eliminate. If you were eligible before, you're still eligible now. So this is the second draw. So this is where the business owner had a question earlier. A second draw is I already got a first one and I need more money. Okay. I need a second loan. So there's 3 caveats to this. Number one, you had to receive a first loan and spent or will spend that money on completely forgivable expenses. Number one. So number 2, you have to have 300 employees or less. And number 3, you have to have suffered a 25% reduction in gross receipts. Now, we had so many questions about gross receipts that we actually put out a document that details exactly how to calculate and what is included in gross receipts. So you have to compare 25% reduction in gross receipts, either from one quarter to another quarter of 19 to 20 or annually. So whichever benefits you that you had a 25% reduction, that's what you do. So if you were not in business, you were in business February of 2020, and you want to compare your second quarter 2020 to second quarter 2019, that's what you can do. You have to compare the same quarter. So Jennifer, can you repeat that question for me so I can make sure that I answer it appropriately?
Sure. So it was, if the business started in second quarter 2019, can we compare third quarter or fourth quarter 2019 to any quarter in 2020?
Okay, so the exact answer is no. You have to compare the same quarters. So if you want to compare quarter 3 of 2019 to quarter 3 of 2020, or quarter 4 of 2019 to quarter 4 of 2020, okay? You have to compare the same quarters or annually.
Okay, we have a couple more questions.
Sure.
If you have an LLC but only use temporary employees, do you still qualify?
Absolutely. So what happens is if you are an LLC and you have your own payroll, you qualify by using your payroll to determine the loan amount. Okay. It depends on how you pay your temporary employees. If you pay them as contract workers, they cannot be included in your loan amount because they are actually eligible to receive their own PPP loan. But if you pay them and they receive a W-2, then even if they're temporary, you can include them in your loan amount. So this business is absolutely eligible for PPP. The conversation becomes, how do I develop the amount of loan that I can now apply for, because it's based on your payroll.
Okay, and then another quick question. If you're self-employed and you don't have a, official quote unquote payroll, would you qualify?
You are absolutely, yep. Self-employed individuals are absolutely eligible. What we would take a look at is your Schedule C, and that you show a profit. And whatever your profit is on your Schedule C for your most recent tax return, or actually you can choose either 2019 or 2020. You do have a choice. You don't have to use 2020. It's either 2019 or 2020. Whatever your Schedule C profit is, that's the number they're going to use to calculate your loan amount. If you did not show a profit, unfortunately, they can't multiply a negative number.
Okay, great.
Okay. So again, we're talking about the second draw. So you have to have those three things in order to qualify. If you are in a accommodation or a food sector, so on your tax return, you list your NAICS code as starting with 72, you are eligible for 3.5 times your payroll costs instead of the 2.5 times that the other codes are available to. You're going to apply to your lender for the loan. All right, so again, you have to have used or will use your first draw loan before that second draw is put into your bank account, okay? For just so some of the things that I'm encountering, because Congress added some additional detail into this program, SBA is doing some more due diligence on the front line. So when a lender inputs your application into our computer system, it's taking them about 24 to 48 hours to get a loan approval number back, right? In the first round, it was instantaneous. And this round, it's taking them about 24 to 48 hours. Once they get that loan number for you, they have 10 calendar days to close the loan and put the money in your account. So if you already have a PPP loan, for the first one, and say you haven't spent it all, it's okay if you haven't applied for forgiveness, but you have to have at least spent the money prior to that 10-day window when they put the money into your account. So that's something to note if you have a timing issue. Again, no more than 300 employees, and you have to demonstrate at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts. Another thing that I've encountered with some businesses who say, well, I want to choose which months I compare. You cannot choose which months you compare. You can choose what quarters. So if you're a business that reports to the IRS on a quarterly basis on a calendar year, you can choose one of your quarters, but you don't get to choose February, March, and April because that doesn't match the calendar quarter that you report to the IRS. If you are a nonprofit business or another type of business that runs on a different fiscal year, you have to choose your fiscal year quarters. And you have to make sure that they're quarters. So it can't be, I'm going to choose February, June, and September, whatever. Jan, have you had any conversations with any businesses that have encountered any questions like that? You're muted.
Sorry about that. We've
Sure.
not encountered too many questions on that. And quite honestly, I'm thinking that a lot of people are just going to the website, as you had mentioned earlier, for
Sure.
insights.
Okay, fair enough. I get a lot of questions on the phone. So I just want to, these are things that people are encountering. So making sure that you might have something as well. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, sorry. So if you have a DBA, sole proprietor, are you looking at the applicant's credit score?
No.
PPP?
Nope. The applicant's credit score is not part of the application, nor is it part of the lender's underwriting. No.
Okay. And the other question is, what is the name of the loan that was offered for businesses without employees?
It is this, that's exactly what we're talking about, the Paycheck Protection
It's the same
Program,
PPP.
regardless of if you're a sole proprietor with no employees or you have 300 employees, it's the same name for the same program.
And do we know the interest rate on the loan?
Well, good question. So the whole point of this is that you have a forgivable loan, right? You spend 60% on your payroll, you spend 40% on eligible expenses, you apply for forgiveness and you owe nothing back because everything is forgiven. That's the point of this program. That's the benefit. However, if you are unable to do that, or you choose not to, and you are not forgiven for the loan, whether it's in full or partial, you will owe the bank the amount back at 1% interest for 5 years. All right, but the whole point of this is that you will spend it on money that the federal government will then forgive, and you will not owe anything. And that goes back to this. When you spend your money, you will then apply to the lender for loan forgiveness. If you received an idle cash advance, you will no longer have that deducted from your forgiveness payment. So you will have received a cash advance is a grant, and then the PPP loan, which will be forgiven if you spend it on all related forgivable expenses. Some nice things for our accountants in the group, or any of you who do your own taxes: the PPP loans that are forgiven are not taxable income from the federal side. I believe they are also not taxable income from the state side as well. We've expanded the forgivable expenses, so you can include those. Coming soon. So we're going to start talking about a bunch of things that are coming soon. So coming soon is a simple application for forgiveness. Coming soon is if you already have an standard SBA loan, we may be providing additional debt relief to you, where the government will come in and pay your loan for a certain number of months. Coming soon is the shuttered venue operator grant. For those of you who have a venue where you do ticketed sales, such as a small movie theater or a playhouse, there is going to be a grant for that, and you can search our website at sba.gov. However, if you want to apply for the grant, do not apply for a PPP first, because that will disqualify you from the grant. So if you are a shuttered venue, please call the SBDC, please call me, please check it out online to look at your availability. That is not open yet. It is coming soon.
Quick question.
Yep.
Sorry, Virginia. For the forgivable expenses, is having a website built something that's a forgivable expenditure?
Whoa, that's a great question. I think it has to do with operating income, and it's a really good question. So I'm gonna either have to research that and get back to you, because I think I'd like to look specifically at that language. So Jen, how do you want me to oh, well, hold on.
I'll get the email from the person who asked the question, and you can
Well, here we go. I don't think so. So let me read you the language. Forgivable expenses are covered operation expenditures. So payments for any business software or cloud computing service that facilitate business operations, product or service delivery, the processing, payment, or tracking of payroll expenses, human resources, sales, and billing functions, or accounting or tracking of supplies, inventory, records, and expenses. So my reading of this, and again, this is my reading, covered operation expenditures. So if it's simply a website,
actually it's e-commerce, so that would be
it's e-commerce. So what I would do is if that borrower can make the argument with their lender that the e-commerce is an operational expenditure, as delineated by what I just said, and that can be found again in the rules on the website, then it is a possibility. Okay.
Great.
All right, so also coming soon, please remember that the EIDL loans are still out there. If you have not applied for EIDL loan, economic injury disaster loan through SBA, that is still available. That is a 20-year loan at 3.99% interest. And the first year is, you don't have to pay anything for the first year. And those loans are 6 months of operating expenditures. Jan, am I missing anything else that's coming soon?
You touched on the shuttered venues, and I think that the uncertainty still is on what are the rules on PPP.
Well, what do you mean, Jan? What questions do you have? Because the rules are out, so I must not be communicating them.
Not questions that we have. The questions that we've been getting from people who've been reaching out to our office are questions of PPP. So you've been covering all these things.
Okay, awesome.
So,
Yeah,
Virginia,
we've been, yep, go ahead, Jen.
so can someone apply for PPP and the economic injury loan?
Absolutely, please do. You can absolutely apply for PPP, which again is through your local lender, whoever you choose to work with. The economic injury disaster loan is at SBA.gov. And you would just follow the prompts for coronavirus relief. And one is through the federal government directly. So you apply directly on SBA's website. It's very, very simple for the EIDL loan. And then the PPP is through the lender. So yes, you are absolutely eligible to apply for both.
And can someone apply for a second EIDL?
No, what we recommend is you actually, if you already have an EIDL loan, you would go into your account and request an increase on your loan rather than a second loan. So if it's not enough for you because you've gotten through 6 months or however long your loan is, absolutely go in to the system and apply as an increase. If you struggle with the electronic system, we do have a customer service line for those, and that's 800-655-2955.
Great.
All right, so that's really all the presentation that we have. I just want to remind everybody, this is my contact information. Jan already put his out there. Everything is online. So we can.
I do have a question.
Sure.
If you're self-employed, how do you know how much you can apply for? And does paying yourself count towards forgiveness?
If you're self-employed, you would take your Schedule C that you filed with the IRS, and we would take the profit that you earned at the bottom of that Schedule C for either 2019 or 2020, whichever one you choose. They would multiply that by 2.5, and that would be your loan amount. And yes, absolutely, you would pay your own salary with that money.
And then we have another question. Would you talk about EIDL advance eligibility in the second round?
So the EIDL advanced eligibility, if you are eligible for an additional EIDL cash advance, SBA will be contacting you directly. It is not something that you have to apply for. If there's a new FAQ, frequently asked questions about the EIDL cash advance, the new one that you can find online. But the bottom line with that is, if you are eligible, SBA will be contacting you, not reverse. You do not have to reapply. So make sure that in your email, anything from SBA.gov is not listed as spam, and we'll get back to you.
I guess the qualifying question is low income only in the second round.
Someone is very knowledgeable. Again, the EIDL cash advance second round has multiple qualifications to whether a business would be eligible for that. in a low income area happens to be one of them. There are 2 or 3 others, and that is the reason why SBA will be contacting the borrower, not the other way around. We want to make sure that we are going to be reaching out to businesses who are potentially eligible for those second cash advances. Again, there's an FAQ on our website if you'd like additional detail, but SBA will be reaching out to you if you are eligible.
Okay, here's an interesting one. If you owe back taxes, will PPP loan be applied to back taxes first?
That's not an easy question because it depends on the type of taxes that you owe back. If you owe them on the federal side, you may not qualify depending on the type of taxes that you owe. If you owe them on the state side, that doesn't figure into the PPP. So it's not that the PPP forgiveness would be used to pay your back taxes. It's if you were eligible to receive the loan in the first place. And that's something that you'd have to work with the lender on.
Okay, one more question. My lender informed me last week that my loan will be paid for an additional 3 months beginning this month. Any indication as to whether or not this will be extended into the future?
That is up to Congress. The funding that was allocated in the latest bill that was signed December 27th allowed for your business to get 3 additional debt relief payments on your 7A loan, which is fantastic. That's simply a matter of what Congress may or may not do in any future bills. So your guess is as good as ours.
Okay, question from Dave Bassett. My understanding was that the first EIDL automatic loan of $1,000 per employee was forgivable. Any special steps to ensure that it ends up forgivable?
No special steps.
Okay, here we are a seasonal greenhouse business. We are racking up utility expenses right now as we are growing our plants. If we receive the PPP loan sometime in April, can we use the money to pay off the utility expenses accrued earlier in the year?
No. So forgivable expenses have to be paid or incurred during the covered period. So if you close your loan today on February 3rd, you can choose anywhere between 8 and 24 weeks. And it is during that 8 and 24 weeks, whatever bills you have to pay during those weeks are what are going to be forgivable. So it's not backwards, it's current.
Okay, so this person applied for the EIDL advance in the first round, but got shut out. Eventually, he closed out the loan application because he didn't want the loan, only the advance. Should he reopen his app to have a better chance at getting a second round EIDL advance?
No. So again, with the cash advance, with the second round potential cash advance, those are for those currently in the system. So because you closed out your application, it would not be in the system. And new applications are not being accepted for that cash advance. It is simply going to be for those working through the system right now.
Another question, if they have child support arrears, will that affect eligibility of the loan?
I have not seen anything in writing that a child arrears affects a PPP loan. It may affect an EIDL loan, but I have not ever seen anything in writing that it affects the PPP. Jan, have you seen anything for that?
No, I've not. And that's an interesting question because I'm sure there's a few folks that will be affected by that. I'd be interested to see what the final interpretation is going to be.
Sure. Like I said, haven't seen anything in writing on a PPP loan, so that shouldn't have an issue on that. It may on the EIDL, but I'm not 100% sure.
And what is the turnaround time once we apply for the loan?
Once you apply for the loan from a lender for a PPP loan, if you're talking about that, that is going to be up to them on how quickly they process your application. Once they process it and put it into SBA system, it's about 48 hours that's taking us to turn it around, but your lender may have their own timeline. So that's a conversation that you need to have with them. With the EIDL loan, SBA is there's still millions of applications outstanding. So I don't have a time frame on those.
Here's a good question. If you collected unemployment as someone who's self-employed, can you still apply?
You can absolutely still apply as someone who is self-employed. Again, it's going to be the Schedule C and your for-profit. However, the time that you received unemployment is not counted towards your loan.
Oh, okay. So John, the EIDL loan is economic injury disaster loan. So it's EIDL.
Sorry, we talk in acronyms sometimes. I apologize.
Okay. With PPP, if you spend the 60% on paying yourself, no payroll, but the remaining 40% isn't spent on forgivable expenses, can the 60% be forgiven?
But the 40% won't be.
Right. So I guess partial forgiveness.
That would be partial forgiveness. And then you would
Okay.
owe 1% on the rest of that loan for 5 years.
Virginia, there is another question. Says if I applied but didn't take the EIDL loan last year, can I open a new application? I'm not sure that they closed the old one, but it was too large and a cumbersome process to try to reduce it.
So what I would recommend is actually calling the customer service, which is 800-659-2955, and taking a look if it's easier to open up your application from before rather than start a brand new process. It's going to be easier to reopen your application rather than go again. Because it puts you, if you go again, it puts you at the back of the line. So Jen, go ahead.
Oh, if you spend 100% of your PPP on payroll, is that still forgiven?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You have to spend at least 60%. Anything more than that's fantastic.
Okay. I have an applicant applying as a first-time borrower who received an EIDL in May of 2020, but the SBA platform is stating that a first PPP loan number is required. Both lender and applicant have reached out to support, but no results in the last week. Any idea how to get this processed?
I need to. Okay, Jen, that person, just give them my email, please, because
Okay.
I think that's a little more complicated than.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I haven't filed for 2019 taxes yet. Can I file 2019 taxes, then still be eligible for PPP loan?
Yeah, you'd have to prove to the lender that you filed the taxes.
Any other, okay, as a business owner, S Corp, can our own paycheck be covered by PPP?
Absolutely. You absolutely want to include that in the loan amount as well as to pay yourselves. Yep. And it's not just paychecks, by the way, it's also costs related to healthcare, life, disability, vision, dental benefits, et cetera.
Okay, are there any SBA programs for businesses that started prior to February 15th, 2020? I'm not sure what you mean.
All
by-
of these programs are eligible for businesses that started prior to February 15th, 2020. I think maybe that person meant after February 15th,
Yeah,
2020.
because otherwise,
Um,
she started on February 15th, 2020.
So then what I would say is SBA has lots of standard programs that you may have heard me talk about in the past, whether it's microloans or any of the regular government guaranteed loans available to businesses. Those are still absolutely up and running. So all of those are, that business is eligible for those.
Okay. Alexa, if you can please direct message me your email so I can get you in contact with Virginia.
A lot of the things that we've got going on here are very specific individual situations. So my email's on here, virginia.smith@sba.gov. That's the easiest way to reach out to me. Or you can email the SBDC. I know Jan put those things up there. If it's something, either of us will help try to answer your question. If we can't, we'll get you to the right resource.
Okay, can you explain more about the extended debt relief program? Eligible borrowers were given 3 additional months, but there is something about an additional 5 months for businesses who are underserved. Can you explain what qualifies as underserved?
So underserved are businesses who are in 246. There's about 12 different NAICS codes. So what that person is talking about is the CARES Act allows for additional payments on current SBA loans for 3 months. However, if a business is what's considered underserved and that's qualifies as multiple different NAICS codes. So NAICS codes are a code that is the main thing that your business does, whether you're a restaurant, a hotel, a consulting service, e-commerce, et cetera, you have a code. And there are certain codes that allow those types of businesses to receive additional 5 months of payment subsidies. So that's what is underserved, or those particular codes. SBA has sent a letter to all businesses who are eligible for those debt relief payments. And then the lenders are responsible starting this month to make sure that that happens. So if you think that you should qualify under the underserved population because of your NAICS code, feel free to reach out directly to your lender and ask them that question if the post office hasn't delivered your letter from SBA yet.
Okay, is there a kind of template application someone could use to see how much they would be eligible for?
Okay, that's a funny question because I think there might be 2 actual questions in there. The first question is eligible for what? Your loan amount?
Oh, for PPP. Yeah.
Right. So if you're a PPP and you want to talk about how much your loan amount you'll be, your loan amount is your average annual payroll times 2.5. So the template is what was your payroll from either 2019 or 2020, average that out and multiply it by 2.5. So there really isn't a template out there. What the thought would be if you ask the second question, which is how much of my money could I be forgiven for? I do not have a template out there. I think there's been some entrepreneurs or some businesses who have put together templates for you to put in. Here's my mortgage interest. Here's my rent. Here's my utilities. Here's my PPE. Here's this, and add it up for forgivable expenses. but SBA does not have a template. Jan, is that something that SBDC put together? I don't think so, but just a thought.
No, we don't have a template like that. We prefer to go individually, because once you start throwing templates out, then people try to figure out what they can cram in there. So if you have questions, by all means, let us know. And there was a comment.
I would send them to you. Absolutely. Yep. I would say if you want to look at a template, Jan's got some fantastic staff that can kind of help you walk through what your forgivable expenses may or may not be.
And
so is it average monthly payroll or average?
Yes. Average monthly payroll for either 2019 or 2020 times 2.5.
Okay. Oops. Let me see. Okay. Any other questions? Is PPP non-taxable?
So if you take a look at the slide before, forgiven PPP loans are not taxable income. Expenses paid with PPP funds are also now tax deductible, but make sure you talk to your accountant or look at the IRS for more details.
And second draw PPP is times 3.5 for restaurants, but for everyone else, it's 2.5.
For if your NAICS code is 7272, so if your NAICS code on your last IRS tax filing indicates that you're a 72, which is accommodations or food services, your second draw is 3.5 times your average, rather up to 2 million rather than 2.5 times.
And is the EIDL forgivable advance taxable?
No. But I'm not the IRS, so I say no. You might want to put a caveat on that the find the IRS notice that backs you up on that one.
So again, this goes back to, can the loan pay for anything in the past? So is there a loan for debt relief to underserved businesses?
I don't understand that question.
Rose, can you maybe rephrase your question? It's only SBA debt relief, not general debt relief?
Correct. So the CARES Act allowed for payments of loan payments of SBA loans. That's what the debt relief we're talking about. However, if you did receive an economic injury disaster loan, that loan will cover, you can pay your bills and your invoices and your debt with an EIDL loan. Because that covers 6 months of operating expenses. So you can pay that, and that's a 20-year loan at 4.99% or 3.99%, excuse me. So that particular loan, it does allow you to pay off other debt if that's something you're interested in.
She already has an EIDL loan, but the business is not recovered. But you said they couldn't apply to extend.
She should go into her EIDL loan portal and request additional funding. So not apply for a second EIDL, but request an increase on the EIDL loan she has now.
Okay, this says the article dated 11/27/20 says, unless changes are made, taxes are owed on the forgiven portion of the PPP loan. Did Congress change that?
Nope, the IRS changed it, and you can find that information at irs.gov.
And I'm assuming the EIDL portal is found on the SBA website?
It is not. It will be in your email because that is the portal is where if you received an EIDL loan, you actually had to go into the portal and sign the documents and provide them information in the portal itself. So it's an individual thing that you'll find on your email. Again, if you're struggling and cannot find that, please call disaster customer service at 800-659-2955, and they can help you with that.
So if you are, okay. Okay, if you receive 6 months of debt relief for a 7A loan, are you eligible for an additional 3 months?
Possibly. You have to take a look and see if you got a letter in the mail from from the SBA, or you can contact your lender.
Question about resources for people that just started. So, because we're talking about, February of 2020. So, any other, can traditional SBA loans are still available to people that are
Absolutely.
just starting
Traditional
out?
SBA loans are still available. Lenders are still loaning their own money without SBA guarantees. Pathstone, our micro lender, is still open and available for business. Kiva is still open and available for business. Everyone is still open and putting money out the door. So
Yeah,
you are still, this is a standard environment. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Sean, there's no grants. I mean, unless you're talking about small business innovation research grants, tech transfer grants. If it's just, kind of Main Street business, there's no grants. Okay. July 1st. Okay, so my earlier question regarding businesses that started in second quarter 2019, the guidance seems to read that a business that started July 1st, 2019 can compare third quarter or fourth quarter 2019 to any quarter in 2020. However, business that started in June.
Not any quarter, not any quarter, the same quarter. The only way that that's different is if you were only in business in 2020, then you can compare second, third, or fourth to your first quarter. It's the only time it's different. But if you were in business 2019 and 2020, you have to compare the same quarter to the same quarter.
And question on looking at, your Schedule C and then times 2.5, do you have to take the additional 2.5, or can you just request the payroll amount?
So let's talk about that for a second. You can request 2.5 times your monthly payroll. That's your loan amount. If you request 2.5 times your monthly payroll, that is essentially 10 weeks of payroll, right, Jen? Make sense? I want to run this so everybody understands. So if you go to SBA and you say, I want 2.5 times my payroll, or you go to your lender, 2.5 times your payroll, you're spending 10 weeks of your payroll. You can choose anywhere between 8 and 24 weeks to spend that money. So why would you not choose the full amount that you can have? Because that full amount would be forgivable. Make sense? Dan,
Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay, any other questions for Virginia?
You guys have had some fantastic questions, but I promise you, you will have more. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Jan or I, or Jen and her staff are fantastic. If we don't know the answer, we will find it for you, or frankly, we'll get you to the right person who can answer the question more than we can.
Okay, if a business applies for a first PPP loan this week, will they be able to apply for a second PPP loan before March 31st?
Possibly. That goes to your timing issue. How quickly can you spend that money on your first loan? because you have to say that you're going to spend all the money on your first loan on eligible uses. You have to certify that you're going to spend it all prior to the second draw going in your bank account. So you really need, so it is possible. You just have to think about how you're going to spend that first money prior to the day 10 that the second draw hits your bank, or whenever your bank closes your loan. Or credit union, mind you, your lender.
Are payments needed before the 8 to 24 weeks are finished and forgiveness is applied for?
Absolutely not, no. I believe it's 6 months of before the loan is due, to give you plenty of time to spend it and apply for forgiveness. Don't quote me on the 6 months. I might be wrong about that, but I guarantee, I absolutely know, no. There is no provision. You will not owe any money on the loan if you apply for forgiveness and SBA is still considering the application. You're not going to owe on that 1%. No, there's a timeline to it. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Virginia, do you know of any other recorded, we're obviously recording this and this will be available in the next week or so. Are there any other recorded presentations like this that you're aware of? If someone doesn't want to wait for that week?
Not that I'm aware of. Oh, yeah, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, we have 68 different district offices across the country. So there may be others who have given similar presentations that you could do a quick Google search on, but not that I'm aware locally.
Okay, so if you're a sole proprietor and you own 2 businesses and you're the only employee for both businesses, can you do 2 PPPs?
If you have 2 EINs and 2 Schedule Cs, yes, you can.
And if you don't have loan forgiveness and can't pay the loan back, is that a collections issue? What happens?
Yes, it's a collections issue.
Okay. It's 11 o'clock. Thank you guys for your great questions. And thank you, Virginia, for your insight and your patience with all of our myriad questions. So anybody, and again, we will be sending out the link to the presentation in the near future. Virginia, can you share your—
Hey, Jen, real quick. I
What?
did take a look. I saw one quick question. They don't take collateral. PPP loans have no collateral required.
Okay. Can you share your presentation with me to send out to the attendees, or is that not possible?
Let me double check. Okay.
Okay.
It's possible. Let me double check.
Okay. All right. Steve, whose contact information do you want? There's Virginia's on the
I
screen.
just put mine back up there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Join us next month. And Jan, do we have a topic for next month?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Next month, we'll be talking about the startup process during these COVID times. Certainly some special considerations, and believe it or not, the majority of the calls we'll be getting these last several months have been from people looking to start up businesses and not so much looking for COVID assistance. So there is demand out there, and we look forward to having a good audience for next month's presentation. Gina Manginelli from our office, who's been a business advisor for many years, has done a lot of work with businesses through these COVID times and has some great insight on the startup process. So come and join us.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a good day, folks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.